We can go then and see how they are down on the grid at the moment then. The way in which they will line up following on the laps of yesterday, we'll see that Bradley Jones will sit in pole position. That's the first time that's happened this year, I think. Bradley Jones holding pole position. Harry TRUELOVE will sit alongside him, and then it would be Rory Skinner rounding out the provisional front row of the grid. When I say provisional, that is actually firmed up as the front row of the grid. Second row of the grid would be Jamie PERRIN, number 75, and how his fortunes have changed. Jamie PERRIN over the last couple of rounds when he split with the team he was running for and decided that he would go and dig out his old Yamaha, his Jamie PERRIN 600 Yamaha. He did that at Snedden, finished 10th in the first race. He fell foul of the dreaded tyre pressure test in the second race and had to start at the back of the grid, decided it wasn't worth it, didn't start the race. And then at Silverstone, much televised and much talked about the rides that he had. He deserved a podium there. He certainly did deserve a podium, but it was 2 fourth places for Jamie PERRIN at Silverstone. I suppose scant reward for him was also a lap record, which he set in the second of those 2 races at Silverstone, Jamie PERRIN. Yesterday, he came home in 5th position. So Jamie PERRIN heads row number 2, ahead of General Lee Johnson. General Lee, who is equally at home on the roads, give him a telegraph post, give him a brick wall, give him some curbing, and let him go racing, and he will do what he does best, and that is win races like he's done at the TT and other circuits, and equally so on the short circuits. He's a super talented rider, is the number 69 of General Lee Johnston. He lost his regular number 13, and we'll tell you about that a bit later on if we get a chance, but he's on row number 2 alongside Jack Scott, the first of the GP2 machines in this Quattro Group British Supersport GP2 Cup. Go back to row number 3 for 20, Tommy Oliver, 5, Mason Law, and 3, James Westmoreland. The 4th row sees Bradley PERIE, that's 97, 34, Alastair SEELEY, and 86, Charlie Nesbitt. Go back to row number 5, they'll be going on to their green flag lap momentarily. Number 6 failed the tyre pressure chest test.
Still Wakefield in pit lane, Fred, it looks like you're right.
And that is the number 6. That is the number 6 of Ross Patterson, who will be starting from pit lane, because that is the tyre pressure test. And that the tyre pressure test, if you're wondering what that's all about now, gents, the new rules and regulations to ensure that they do run to a minimum tyre pressure. After the 3-minute display board, the crews of just 3 riders on the grid that have been chosen randomly, they are asked to check the tyre pressures, and if those tyre pressure checks are in excess, or I should say under the minimum that is stipulated, which is 1.65 bar, I think, or 23.9 per square inch. If it's below that, then they are pulled off the grid, put into pit lane, and said, now adjust it to a legal pattern, to a legal level. And of course, by being pulled off the grid, then they are in pit lane when they go out onto a green flag lap, which means the regulations then say if you start your green flag lap from the pit lane, you then have to start the race from the back of the grid. So automatically, if you fail the tyre pressure test, then you will start from the back of the grid. It's as simple as that. And number 6, Ross Patterson, the very delightful young man from Northern Ireland, from Andrin, son of Alan, he has got to do just that. Currently running 12th in the championship. Well, he was running 12th. I'm not sure he's running 12th in that. Let me have a quick.
He had a disaster at Silverstone, didn't he? I think he was involved in a couple of shunts there.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of people ask that question is, well, why do the Pirelli technicians check the tyre pressure? Well, it's all done in the name of safety. An underinflated tyre, if you're driving a car, riding a bike or whatever, and you don't have the correct tyre pressure in, then it is a little bit dangerous. You run a soft tyre, and as a result, it could lead to all sorts of problems if that tyre doesn't react as it should normally. So it's all done in the interests of safety. There are these regulated and calibrated gauges that Pirelli use, which means that everybody that gets checked is legal, if you like, but that's the reason that they do it, Fred, just in the interests of safety.
Yes, there was one that was tested, and the gauge that's provided there by Pirelli, I believe it was, that proved to be faulty.
That was Matt TRUELOVE, I think, when he was wheeled off the grid at Silverstone.
Yeah,
they did say that occasionally the best will and all that. Pirelli held their hands up and said, yeah, that was our fault, but obviously it's
didn't restore the race, did it?
It's too late for Matt TRUELOVE. These things happen, don't they?
They do, with the best will in the world, but as you correctly say, it is in the interest of safety. There is a plus side, of course. If you are running below pressure, you are giving yourself a greater contact patch between motorcycle and tarmac, but of course that will then lead potentially to greater tyre distortion, overheating, and all sorts of problems on the safety ground. So it is swings and roundabouts, but they are decided that if you are below the stipulated 1.65 bar, then you have to go and do something about it. We've given you the grid, or we got as far as we could on the grid, didn't we? We got back to, I think, to row number 5, which was Richard Kerr, Ben Currie, Ross Patterson, and that was Ross Patterson pulled off the grid, start from pit lane. And is he down below us here? Well, he's got out his green flag lap, hasn't he? He'll start then for the back of the grid. So go back to row 6 for Cameron Horseman, Jake Archer, James Rose. Then back to row 7 for Rob Hartog, Kurt Wigley, Michael Dunlop, Mickey D. Back to row number 8, there's another road racer there. That is Joey Thompson, the number 76 of Joey Thompson. Joey making the comeback to the racing. Joey, who did very little racing last year. I think he did the Classic TT, Aberdare Park and Olives Mount, and that was just about it last year for Joey Thompson. Was intent on setting up a cafe up there near York. He sold the cafe and he's gone back to plastering and being a personal trainer now, as Joey Thompson. He's also come back to racing motorcycles. Well, he's heading row number 5 alongside Dan Jones. Jorel BOERBOOM, poor old Jorel, he was more on his backside than anywhere else at Silverstone. The guy must have visited the medical centre on 3 separate occasions, 3 separate prangs for Jorel. Then we go back, Cameron Fraser, Phil Wakefield, Joe Loughlin making his debut here at the circuit yesterday, Mike Norbury, Ricky Town, Alan Naylor, and Grant McIntosh on the back of the grid. Going to pause there because the safety car is going to take up position course to follow them round on the first lap. Just pausing there, the safety car having followed them round. And here we go then. We are racing on this one and into turn number 1. It is going to be, is that Bradley Jones? Is that the wee Scotsman, Rory Skinner? I think that may well be Brad Jones, who on pole position has taken the whole shot. Let's have a look. Yes, it is. Brad Jones takes this one there on the run down. That looks to be Harry TRUELOVE that's running there in second place. So they go through Cascades for the first time. So those 2 riders from the front row of the grid doing maximising on what they've got. Indeed, the front row running first, second and third, because that in third place then is Rory Skinner, and that then is Jamie Perrin running 4th. It's one of the Geerling Kawasaki's next up. That would be James Westmoreland, I would have thought, from row number 3. Westy, that's up ahead then of General Lee Johnston as they go through Island Bend for this the first time. Number 75, Jamie Perrin out there, said had to resurrect his bike, the vintage bike. It is basically a 2016 R6 Yamaha, that one of Jamie Perrin. Not quite the oldest bike out there on the circuit. We'll perhaps come to that, because that is Bradley PERIE that's got the oldest one out there. That's a museum piece that Bradley PERIE's running. Harry TRUELOVE takes the lead, the number 4 of Harry TRUELOVE, the younger of the 2 TRUELOVE brothers, the elder brother who tumbled at Shallow's Corner in the last race in the Stockers. This is Harry, 24-year-old from Lincoln, and he's running the 2019, I think, Yamaha, which is no difference because it's exactly the same spec as the 2020 bike is the 2019. Lead changes. Is it Bradley Jones ahead? It is Bradley Jones who's now gone ahead. Brad, number 12, and up into second place. So it's a 1-2 at the moment for the Appleyard McAdam Tysers Yamaha team, because that then is Rory Skinner up then into second place. The erstwhile leader, number 4, goes through to complete lap number 1 in third place, and that is Harry TRUELOVE. Jones, Skinner, TRUELOVE, Westmoreland, Perrin, Johnson, Scott, Oliver, Law, PERIE, Korie, Rose, SEELEY, NESBITT, KERR, HARTOG, Archer, Jones, Thompson, BOERBOOM, HORSMAN, PATTERSON, WIGLEY, DUNLOP, LOUGHLIN, NORBURY, FRASER, WAKEFIELD, TARREN, and going through in 30th place was the number 41 of Alan Naylor. So we're just one rider light, I think, because I think we started with 31 riders, so that would be on the second screen, and we'll get to that in a few moments' time. The fastest lap yesterday, incidentally, was set by Bradley Jones at 1 minute 38.312. That is shy of the lap record still held by Jack Kennedy, 37.2. Well over a second faster than the best lap of yesterday. It was very much a conundrum, really, for Robin Appleyard, with Jack Kennedy deciding that he was going to move on to the Superbikes this year. And, of course, Appleyard's not interested in running at Superbike level. They are Supersport specialists. Who did they get to replace the 2 times winner for them of the British Supersport title? And they chose this young Scottish rider who, in many respects, had been overlooked, and rudely so, I feel, in certain quarters, that he's been overlooked before the talents that he possesses. Former British Talent Cup champion, and a rider with a huge amount of ability, but he was the nomination by Robin Appleyard, and he has fulfilled the boots of Kennedy admirably. He goes into lead now into Ward Lodge Corner. He just gently moves up on the inside of his teammate who got the better of him yesterday. Good to see this running in third place. There's been some time since we said up there at Geerling Kawasaki, but it is, and that's Westy running up there in third position. The number 3 of James Westmoreland running there third. That pushes Jamie Perrin into fourth, because TRUELOVE's gone back to fifth. Johnson is still there sixth. Best of the GP2s then is the number 55 of Jack Scott. And there's still Jack Scott, JJ running with the Harris Yamaha. And he's running second in that championship series, is Jack Scott, in that category. That's the red-painted Scott category, just 3 points down on Mason Law. In fact, if you did a snapshot now, then Scott would be leading the GP2, the Quattro Group GP2 category by just 2 points ahead of Mason Law. But that would be just a quick snapshot of the points as they would be at this moment in time. Leaders then are on the way toward Britain's. Rory Skinner, number 11, Bradley Jones, number 12. Just looking to see whether I thought that the brake protector on the on Wester's bike was coming adrift on the right-hand handlebar. It's not. I think it is. I think it's been bent back a bit. He's obviously had some contact there with the front brake protector, has James Westman, in his efforts to get through the pack there, and that's bent that one back quite dramatically there. And you can actually see it sitting proud on that right-hand handlebar, the brake protector that is in place quite sensibly to when unavoidable contact does take place, to stop the front brake being applied accidentally. That actually happened with the Junior Supersports yesterday. That's why one of the riders actually pirouetted over the handlebars. I think he got hit, and then had grabbed the front brake, or was hit by the front brake, and that pirouetted the bike over. However, leaders have gone through. The two ties as Yamahas, Westy in third place, up into fourth place. Pause there. Yes, it is. TRUELOVE's come back into fourth place. TRUELOVE and Johnson are enjoying a fair old tussle here. That's the 4 and the 69. General Lee Johnson sporting the Dukes of Hazzard General Lee helmet, as he now claims that fourth position. General Lee Johnston, very talented rider is General Lee, unbelievably now 31 years of age. It only seems like yesterday since he started racing, and remember a number of the great races he had. Won the National Stock 600 Championship, of course, a number of years ago. Did General Lee Johnson. He's topped his CV off with a victory in the Isle of Man TT Supersports. He's had a Supersport win in the Northwest. Not yet had a win, I don't think, at the Ulster Grand Prix, although he has been on the podium more than once at the Ulster Grand Prix. Just hot foot back from a very successful weekend last weekend at Scarborough. That's General Lee Johnston running for that beautiful, very professional setup of Ashcourt, the Ashcourt Builders, and it is the Ashcourt Group that he runs for under number 69, Ashcourt Racing. I was saying he was going to run number 13, which is his regular number, but that was pre-allocated to Kurt Wigley. The original intention was that he would not, i.e. General Johnson would not be doing the whole of the Quattro Group British Supersport Championship Series. He would be concentrating on the roads, because, as we now know, COVID-19 put the mockers on all of the roads activity. Here's the two dynamic riders that the producer just homes in on. That is Bradley PERIE, 97, who's just gone past Jamie Perrin, the number 75 rider. Two very, very talented youngsters who I think we've still got the best to see ahead of them. Mason Law, incidentally, he's gone ahead now. Mason Law's gone ahead of Tommy Oliver, but he's still running second in the GP2 category, meaning that Jack Scott still leads that class at the moment. Jack Scott went through in 6th place overall. Mason Law went through in 9th place overall. Tommy Oliver in 10th place overall. Alastair SEELEY, the wee wizard, went through in 13th place overall, ahead of Charlie NESBITT, who went through 14th. Archer went through in 17th. Jorel BOERBOOM went through in 18th. Dan Jones went through in 19th. Then it was Joey Thompson going through in 20th place. Back with these, there's a faller now. Who is that? There's tipped off there, and rider buried his bike underneath the... that looks to be the number 27 down there. That would be Joey Loughlin making his debut. Well, you remember that one, won't you? The number 27 of Joey Loughlin. He's managed to crash out. Joey, who comes from Castle Blaney in County Monaghan in the Republic of Ireland. He actually won the Irish Short Circuit 650 Super Twins Championship Series a couple of years ago. But he's here with one of the greatest racers that the roads have ever seen, and short circuits as well, and one of the nicest guys ever you'll meet in the paddock, Ian Locker. Ian Locker Racing are backing Joey Loughlin here this weekend, but sadly, Joey Loughlin has stepped off. His race is over. He's perfectly okay. Just seeing where he finished yesterday. Joey Loughlin, he did get a finish yesterday. Did Joey Loughlin? Yes, he did. He finished in 26th place yesterday, did Joey, but sadly not going to replicate that today. His race over as of 3 laps. We can go back with the leaders, and the two ties are Yamahas, or Tigers Yamahas. The group name of the insurance co is Tigers, not in the singular. It's a change of name by virtue of business takeover. It was formerly Integro, but Integro were swallowed up and taken over by the Tigers group.
Jamie PERRIN in to retire, Fred. His luck doesn't get any better.
That's a touch of yesteryear, isn't it, for Jamie PERRIN? Poor Jamie PERRIN, number 75, in to retire. And this is a rider that really does deserve a good, solid team beneath him. I'd like to see Jamie PERRIN and Bradley PERIE in the same team. You know, they're two quality acts. And certainly in terms of personality, then Bradley PERIE is a rider that is rapidly carving out quite a niche amongst the race fans. General Lee Johnson, he's his own character. I do like General Lee. Westy, the quiet man of racing, the number 3 of James Westmoreland, equally at home in World Endurance is James Westmoreland. But here are the duo of the predominantly blue, with of course the yellow disc on the side that has the name of Appleyard McAdam on the side, Doogie McAdam. Nothing to do with McAdam of tarmacking fame. It is of a vehicle recovery on the highways, the byways, the motorways. And Appleyards, the dealers, motorcycle dealers and Suzuki car dealers, Appleyards, and there is Jamie PERRIN just gently going back to the tented garage in the inner paddock. Here are your leaders through. Fastest lap to Skinner, 138.153. That compares to his lap of yesterday at 38.312. So it is marginally quicker than yesterday, but still way, way shy of the lap of Jack Kennedy. Interestingly enough, when I popped in just earlier on this morning into the tyres garage, the team mechanics and Rory Skinner and his dad were sat down by the computer, and they were just putting the trace over of Rory Skinner's best lap on the trace over of the lap record of Jack Kennedy to find out exactly where Kennedy was faster, and indeed is faster around the circuit on the lap record pace than the fastest lap of Rory Skinner. Well, he's obviously learned a little bit from that, because he's gone quicker today than he did yesterday, but he's still well shy of the lap record of Jack Kennedy. Was set back in May of last year at 137.201, and that is still 0.9 of a second quicker than Rory Skinner is able to do at the moment. And Jack Kennedy, he smiles with pride when you point that out to him, because he's been watching what's been happening. Of course, Jack Kennedy, who went basically all the way through the season last year, just about undefeated, did Wacko Jacko. I think along the way he picked up 20 individual race victories last year, and the only time he got defeated in a straight race, I think, was over the Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch, when Alastair SEELEY beat him in that particular race. The only other time he didn't see the checkered flag in first place, so we only had a couple of retirements along the way, but apart from that, I think 20 individual race wins. And when I was talking to Jack Kennedy at Donington, I think it was, no it wasn't, it was beyond that, the last round at Silverstone, and saying the wins that are coming his way, he said, yes, but is he as fast as me? It's a racer's pride, it's a personal pride, a racer's pride, and Jack Kennedy still looks back with great affection on his days with the Appleyard McAdam squad. Leaders coming through then to complete lap number 7. Skinner, Jones separated by 0.15 of a second, but they are 5.5 seconds up the road ahead of Westmoreland, Johnston, TRUELOVE, Scott, PERIE, Law, Oliver, Seeley, James Rose, NESBITT, CURRIE, KERR, Archer, HARTOG, the two gentlemen together here. That's Rob HARTOG, number 74, running 16th. Jorel BOERBOOM, number 550, running 17th. Then Dan Jones, Kurt WIGLEY, THOMPSON, HORSMAN, PATTERSON from the back row of the grid up to 22nd place. FRASER, WAKEFIELD, NORBURY, TARREN, then NAYLOR, McIntosh being the last of the riders in 28th position. That's the full rundown of those riders out on the circus. We can go back with the lead. There's Westy enjoying a real tussle here. This tussle, and that's what, 3, 4, 5, 6 riders there, which is Westy, Johnson, TRUELOVE, Scott, PERIE, and Mason Law. And that's Mason Law just the tail of that bunch. As we just get a quick glimpse in toward his top chicane of the two leaders, Skinner and Bradley Jones. And they're on their way up Clay Hill. GP2 category last year, the Quattro GP2 category last year, won by Car Ride. Supersport Championship won last year, of course, by Jack Kennedy. James Westmoreland, number 3, so long associated with the Supersports, 11th in the British Supersport Championship of last year. Although he only did the last 4 rounds last year, he was a rider without portfolio in many respects. He didn't have a ride, although he went to do a couple of endurance races. I think he did the Le Mans 24 Hour and the Bordeaux races last year. But he's a 2 times run-up in the British Supersport Championship is the 32-year-old James Westmoreland. And that is Westy running under number 3, and alongside him is General Lee Johnson again as they go in toward turn number 1. TRUELOVE just behind him, and then that would be Scott, PERIE, Law, whereas the leaders, they are already along lakeside. Fastest lap of the GP2s. Now, who's got that? Yesterday, it was Jack Scott at 138.872. The GP2 category lap record here is Carl Ride, set last year at 137.330. There's a good tussle out there, and they're coming through to take that place just behind James Westmoreland is the number 4 of Harry TRUELOVE. That relegates the number 69 of General Lee Johnson back a place. So that would be, Johnson back then to 5th place, I think. That would be, yes, because that's 3rd, 4th and 5th. That's Bradley PERIE then running in 6th place. He's obviously gone ahead then of Jack Scott. Bradley PERIE with a distinctive red-coloured fairing out there. The number 97, that is the museum piece. Basically, the chassis of that is basically a 2008 chassis with a 2016 updated motor. A number of his fans do support his racing. He does get open support from Diamond H Racing and the real talent that he is, but he also gets a lot of support from his various fans. Diamond H Lifting is it's called Diamond H Racing, but it is the parent company is Diamond H Lifting Equipment of Berkeley in County Durham. But it's got the name of Leyland on the side of that, and that's JT Leyland Haulage, and they're in Cumbria. I think he also gets a little bit of help from Herald Motorcycles on the Isle of Man. Does Bradley PERIE, as the leaders then, have now completed 2/3 race distance. The order is Skinner from Jones by a Nats Thingy. 82 1,000 seconds they completed that lap, but they are now 8.5 seconds ahead of Westmoreland, TRUELOVE, Johnson, PERIE, Law, Scott, Seeley, and in 10th place Charlie Nesbitt. 11th to 20th at the moment being Oliver, Rose, KERR, Korie, Archer, HARTOG, BOERBOOM, Dan Jones, Kurt Wigley, and Joey Thompson. 21st position down at the moment are, just pause there, Cameron HORSMAN, 72 Fraser, Wakefield, Norbury, Patterson, TARREN, and NAYLOR. That's the tune to look for the leaders. Well, they're long gone. They are already heading on down toward the Hislop chicane. Still, that now is an 8-way battle, that, for 3rd downwards. So that will be 3rd down to 10th. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, at least of them. But mixed in, of course, are the GP2s and the Supersport there, which will be separated out when they get across the line to give points to their own respective categories. And we know that it will be Rory Skinner still leading this one as they go on to Donington Park, irrespective of what Bradley Jones does here. But it's still open, is very much open as to who will be the leader by the time we get to Donington Park in the Quattro Group GP2 Cup. Just 3 points Mason Law ahead of Jack Scott. And that will increase because Mason Law has now quietly moved his way to head the GP2s out on the circuit. And number 6 to retires into pit lane. That being Ross Patterson, the rider that was hit with the tar penalty. Mason Law at the moment, with a snapshot, has increased his advantage to 8 points over Jack Scott. And Scott in turn will be increasing his advantage over Tommy Oliver because Seeley now is 3rd and Tommy Oliver's gone back to 5th out there on the circuit in the GP2s. Great to have the Quattro Group behind us in this particular category. The name of Quattro have been associated with motorcycle racing for quite a period of time. Quattro Group, who enjoyed over 25 years of nationwide success and operates from the 11 place depots across the UK. Established back in 1989 by their managing director John Murphy, and they produced their first sweeper, I think, was purchased way back in 1989. They have been associated with motorcycle racing for a long time, and long may they stay with us, the Quattro Group. West is enjoying this battle. There's no ifs and buts about this one. The number 3 of James Westmoreland, and one of the most loyal teams in Supersport racing is that of Mike Davidoff, the Gearlink Kawasaki Mike, who so tragically a couple of years ago lost his lovely wife, Norma Davidoff, after a long illness. She succumbed to a long illness, but a lovely lady. Let her emotions be shown, whether it be good of joy or whether it be despair, whatever the racing was. She was always there with a lovely smile on her face and a word with you. Still very much missed, Norma Davidoff. And I talk about her in the present because I will talk about this team, the green and the orange of Gearlink, as the team of Mike and Norma. She is still here with us looking down and enjoying this racing. I know it did affect Mike so hard. So it's always tragic when you lose somebody close to your heart, and he really did feel the effects of that. But he stayed in the racing game and got Westy, and indeed he's got Ben Wilson on the span. He's got Ben Wilson on the spanners. Ben Wilson, who rode for the team for many a long year, and Ben is one of the race technicians. But what a scrap that is for those lower placings. And Skinner and Jonesy, well, they're making it very much a Appleyard McAdam-Tysers party. Now 10 seconds up the road ahead of Westmoreland, Johnson, TRUELOVE, PERIE, Law, Scott, SEELEY, and NESBITT, Oliver and Rose. That's James Rose, combat racer James Rose, who had been away from the racing game for quite a number of years. Last raced, I think, back in 2016, James Rose, and his bike out there, he's running for Motor Breakers. His dad's motorcycle braking concern at Doncaster, and of course IMS, which is Darren Ibbotson Motorsport. He runs a Kawasaki 636, basically a 636 2019 motor into a 2012 chassis for James Rose. Super talented rider, James Rose, who never, for my money, never made the most of the talent that God gave him. Was in and out of racing quite frequently. Here's Skinner's still ahead of the number 12, the 11 and the 12, but this is nice to see Bradley Jones coming back to ride. As we know, Bradley Jones has been capable of. The season started off pretty badly for Bradley Jones. Took him 3 meetings in before he got a podium. 4th and 4th at Donington Park, 11th and the 6th at Snedderton, before he then got the podiums, a 3rd and a 2nd at Silverstone, and then got the win yesterday. Bradley Jones, I was going to say the bespectacled rider, Bradley Jones from Stallbridge in Dorset, but of course he only wears the spectacles when he walks around the paddock. He doesn't wear spectacles or contacts for racing. Still intent on making this a double. His problem here is conundrum here will be a conundrum. Well, it is for him. How's he going to get past Rory Skinner without causing an upset, i.e. bringing him down? He will not endear himself to Robin Appleyard and the team if he does try and overtake manoeuvre and take Rory Skinner down. So he's got to be very cautious. He's got to be very sure to make his move. There is Bradley PERIE nipping up through the inside. A mistake there from Harry TRUELOVE, so that will be PERIE now up into 4th place. That will be TRUELOVE back to 5th. Still Westy running 3rd. Now mine's just go back to Silverstone, Fred, don't we? Remember teammates of Elliot Pinson and Eddie Best on the Simceris Motorsport Ducatis. They took each other out. Let's just hope we're not going to get a repeat of this one. Well, I must say yesterday, Larry, a couple of times in the Venice British Superbike race there with Andrew and Glenn running pretty close together. I thought this could well end in tears here between the two brothers Irwin. I was talking that one through last evening with the third sibling, Graham Irwin.
It's bad enough if you take your teammate out, but when your teammate's your brother, that makes the evening meal a little bit more uncomfortable, doesn't it?
Is Bradley PERIE now going to go for a place on the podium? He's now snapping at the heels of Westy's Gearlink Kawasaki, the green and orange Gearlink Kawasaki. Bradley PERIE's predominantly red-fed Yamaha, then the blue and yellow of Harry TRUELOVE behind him, and then the distinctive Ashcourt blue with the white Ashcourt name on the side. Moving in toward the closing stages of this 15 lap. This is the feature race. We had the sprint race yesterday, and that sprint race 1, 2, 3 was Bradley Jones, Rory Skinner and Harry TRUELOVE. But we're going to get a different third finisher here. Would it be? Well, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. We could still get a TRUELOVE, because TRUELOVE now is again looking to go through on the side of Bradley PERIE on the approach toward Island Bend. He decides that no, it's not the time to do it, or that's not the place to do it. He's going to try the inside now in toward Shell Oils Corner, and that works better. Now that does work for him. He has now got past Bradley PERIE at Shell Oils Corner. He's now got Westy to get past, and he'll have 1.5 laps in which to do it, to replicate the result of yesterday. Well, I say replicate the result of yesterday. We don't know as yet whether it would be Skinner to get the reversal over Bradley Jones, and we want to follow that one through on the last lap, because I can see an attack coming on the final time in toward Lodge Corner. As to whoever's in second place, whether it be Skinner or Jones, then surely an attack is going to come final time in toward Lodge Corner. But there's the gang behind, and TRUELOVE's got it. TRUELOVE's now gone up in 3rd place, so that is very much the top 3 from yesterday. He looked out of the picture, did TRUELOVE, but he's now fought his way back, and it is Harry TRUELOVE that leads that charge. The 15th Panzer Division that are coming along, albeit some 11.5 seconds in arrears of Skinner and Jones. And Skinner and Jones, there they go in toward Old Hall Corner in the order of Skinner from Jones. And that's the order as they disappear visually away down the avenue and out of my sight. And we want to now as enthralling this battle behind is, and it is enthralling because Westy now has taken that third place back. James Westman for Geerling, and it's been some time since Geerling had been up on the podium. It must be said with James Westman this year. It was back at Oulton Park the last time they were on the podium, with a couple of second places for James Westman, but the last couple of meetings, and indeed yesterday, not on the podium, but we get back. That's better. We did fleetingly get back with the two leaders at Shell Oils. Before now dropping back to TRUELOVE. TRUELOVE's now gone back into third place. PERIE's gone up into fourth place. Westy's gone back into fifth place. And then it is in sixth place. That is General Lee Johnston. Before we get then Charlie NESBITT, who is now leading the GP2s out there. And, well, that's going to go right the way down to the checker flag. Here's where we want to be now in this final half lap. The run up Clay Hill by the two leaders, having stopped with the technical problem. That's James Rose out of it, having retired with a technical problem in the closing stages, number 28. Leaders will be in toward Druids. They will then be heading along toward the final corner. This is where we want to be, in this final corner. And it is the number 11 of Rory Skinner that's got too much in hand. He's going to do it here. Rory Skinner's going to do it here. And Rory Skinner's going to get back to winning ways. The status quo is restored. Whatever you want, whatever you get, you pays your money, you takes your choice. It's going to be the win for Rory Skinner across the line. That then is win number 7. And then it was second place then to Bradley Jones. It's going to be Bradley PERIE. Bradley PERIE's going to take it. Bradley PERIE, who is going to take it on the drag toward the flag. Here comes TRUELOVE on the inside, but Bradley PERIE's going to hold it as they go across the line. Bradley PERIE takes that third place across the line then from Harry TRUELOVE, from James Weston, from General Lee Johnston. All 6 at home are the Supersports, then followed by the GP2s of Charlie NESBITT. Then it was behind Charlie NESBITT, Jack Scott, number 55, and Mason Law. And Charlie NESBITT there has helped Jack Scott in pursuit of the championship there. Seeley came in 4th, Oliver came in 5th. In the 6th place in the GP2s was Jake Archer. It was then 7th in the GP2, Jorel BOERBOOM from Dan Jones, then Cameron Horseman, and then it was the number 76 of Joey Thompson, and the last of the GP2's home being the number 66 of Cameron Fraser. I want to just do a quick tot-up of that one before I go back on those results, because Mason Law in the GP2s came home in 3rd place. That will be good for 16 points. That will put him on to 118 points. Now, Jack Scott, he came home 2nd, 20 points, so we're going to 119 points. He'll take the lead by just 1 point. Now, what about Mason Law, who came in 3rd, and his NESBITT, Charlie NESBITT. He got the win, 25 points for Charlie. That will be going to 101 points for Charlie NESBITT. And who else do we want to see there? Tommy Oliver, well, he came home 5th, so we'll pick up 11 for that. He'll go on to 104. And what about the wee wizard, Alastair SEELEY? He was 4th on that. He'll pick up 13. He'll go on to 96. So provisionally, Larry, I make it that in the Quattro Group GP2s, Jack Scott now takes the lead by just 1 point from Mason Law. And Tommy Oliver now is still there 3rd. And if we look to the Quattro Group British Supersport, Rory Skinner, with the 25 pointer there, goes on to 195. Bradley Jones goes on to 122 points, meaning that now is a 73-point advantage with just 100 points up for grabs over the last 2 rounds. James Westman, he came home in 5th place in that group. He'll pick up 11th for that. He'll go on to 105 points. Bradley PERIE came home 3rd. He'll pick up 16 points for that. He'll go on to 98. And what about the General? Well, he came home in 6th place. He'll pick up 10 for that. And he'll go on to 82 points. So in the Supersport, it is Rory Skinner 195, Bradley Jones 122, James Westman 105, Bradley PERIE 98, and General Lee Johnston on 72 points. That's provisionally the way I make it. The way they crossed the line was Skinner, Jones, PERIE, TRUELOVE, Westman, Johnston, NESBITT, Scott, Law, Seeley, Oliver, Kerr, Currie, Archer, Hartog, Kurt Wigley, BOERBOOM, Dan Jones, Horseman, Thompson, Fraser, Norbury, Wakefield, and then final rider home being number 91, Ricky TARREN. Commercial break time.